Welcome to MISD Assessment's training on test security for the 2018-19 school year, presented by the Mansfield ISD Department of Assessment, Accountability, and Analysis. This video is designed for campus testing coordinators in the Mansfield ISD, as well as other staff members who will help supervise state assessments by which they can initiate their state-mandated training for the 2018-19 school year. The 2018-19 school year brings a few procedural changes, but the fundamental aspects of test security remain consistent with previous years. We'll also highlight the most important aspects of test security on testing days. The most well-known assessment coordinated by TEA in 2018-19 is the State of Texas Assessments of Academic Readiness, better known as STAR, now in its 8th year. And this video will focus primarily on these tests. TEA will also supervise the administration of the TELPAS and STAR Alternate 2 tests statewide. For the 4th year, Pearson will manage the delivery of TELPAS and STAR Alternate 2, while ETS will manage the delivery of STAR. The first change you'll notice this year pertains to TEA's testing calendar. Beginning with the 2018-19 school year, the state testing year now conforms to the school year, not the calendar year. This change impacts test manuals and testing oaths, which have already been revised and will be distributed earlier than in years past. Testing oath categories have also been reduced in number down to only 3. TEA has also made minor changes to accommodations. See the training on test accommodations for more information. Perhaps the least popular change will be the retirement of the DCCM, which is now replaced by the online-only DCCR. DCCR, of course, refers to District and Campus Coordinator Resources, with R for Resources replacing M for Manual. The URL shown here takes you to this TEA webpage, which instructs you to visit this link. Doing so takes you to what is essentially a virtual notebook containing all the content you used to find in the printed DCCM. The key to navigating this new format is the menu to the left. TEA touts this new format as more flexible, allowing policy updates without requiring wholesale changes to a large PDF. TEA also notes that this platform works across all devices, although you're likely to find that its performance is not exactly flawless. But it should improve over time with revisions and updates. We now move on to test security, where it's always useful to recall the fundamental concerns and core areas surrounding it. TEA requires security of test materials for the same basic reason a teacher protects his or her own testing content: to protect the integrity of the assessment system and process. Additionally, TEA requires school officials to maintain protocols of confidentiality, both of test content and student results, to maintain their validity. These principles apply to state assessments just as they do to an individual teacher's activities in the classroom. Additionally, students have a right to privacy regarding their academic performance, so student data must be handled with the same security protocols as test materials and content. Before we address test security as it pertains to STAR, here's an important reminder of security measures required by TEA with respect to TELPAS. Because TELPAS requires teachers to objectively assess the English language proficiency of EL students, teachers must complete calibration activities to demonstrate their own competency with the state's English language proficiency standards and their corresponding TELPAS performance level descriptors. To maintain the integrity of that system, TEA requires that TELPAS teacher calibration must be completed independently, and teacher calibration performance must also be kept confidential. Campus administrators are responsible for monitoring calibration activities to ensure their security and protecting teacher results. Moving on to security issues pertaining more closely to STAR testing, campuses must ensure proper test security is established prior to testing. Each campus should maintain a specific secure area for the storage of test materials, with access limited only to a few individuals. Anything accessible with a master key or multiple room keys is insufficient. The secure storage area must be available only to a handful of people. When materials arrive prior to a given test administration, CTC should verify that the shipment is complete and ensure that all secure materials are moved and stored appropriately. Campuses should also confirm that all documentation regarding individual student accommodations and supports is current and accurate. Campuses must address logistics for testing. This includes preparing required documentation, ensuring each space used for testing is appropriately configured to minimize student distractions and eliminate unfair advantages, and planning for emergency situations such as fire alarms and/or power outages. Most importantly, teachers and staff must be trained each year on their own responsibilities related to handling of test materials and administration of testing. Each staff member who may be involved in testing must sign an oath of test security and confidentiality, acknowledging he or she understands and accepts responsibility for his or her role. Although campuses are required to offer training on test procedures in a face-to-face setting, TEA also offers free training resources online at the URL noted at the top of this frame. These resources are designed to supplement campus training. TEA's training is separated into 3 modules that, while unspectacular, are complete and comprehensive. These resources are especially useful if a staff member is absent from campus training or if he or she could benefit from additional reinforcement of the topics presented. This frame shows portions of the 2018-2019 General Oath of Test Security and Confidentiality, suitable for most staff members. Each staff member should read each statement and check it off to indicate that he or she understands and will comply. Anyone who may administer STAR in a testing room must also read and check the statements in the box at the bottom of the page, which now include direct mention of active monitoring. This oath is valid for all testing during the 2018-2019 school year. Campuses should obtain an oath for every staff member and keep a copy with state assessment documentation files for 5 years. Additional documentation related to test security, including materials control forms and seating charts, are shown on this frame. The materials control form is designed to track movement of secure materials to and from the secure storage area. When a test administrator accepts materials for a testing location, he or she takes responsibility for each book and answer document. If secure materials are lost, stolen, altered, or damaged after the staff member accepts them, that staff member assumes the liability, so he or she must follow the protocols established in security training. STAR Alternate 2 includes a different materials control form because its procedures allow teachers to examine materials prior to testing for the purpose of determining student accommodations. The materials control form for STAR Alternate 2 therefore requires the CTC to verify the return of materials each day they're checked out. Test administration seating charts are required for every room in which students test, whether on paper or online. Every seating chart must include the name of every test administrator who monitored the room and the start and stop time for the room. This particular form places student information on the grid itself, but a campus can choose to use roster lists with simpler charts. All of these documents should be kept in campus state assessment files for 5 years. While students are testing, the adult serving as test administrator bears several responsibilities, including distributing materials properly, completing required documentation, and confirming that student data on the answer documents is complete. Most importantly, every test administrator is responsible for actively monitoring the activity in the room, ensuring that students are staying on task, working independently, and marking answers on the answer document. And you're absolutely correct if you think that watching students take a test is boring, because it is. But teachers who actively monitor have the best track record at preventing problems. Teachers who don't actively monitor, well, they tend to create problems. Awareness of student activity in the room is fundamental to classroom management at every grade level, and that's no different on state assessment days. Timing restrictions for STAR remain the same as in previous years. Students are still allotted 4 hours for all STAR tests, the only exceptions being English 1 and English 2 EOC, which allow 5 hours for testing. Students may finish in less time, particularly in earlier grades, but every student is still allowed up to 4 hours to complete STAR. Test administrators should periodically inform students of time remaining and should record the clock time for the beginning and end of testing on the seating chart. Remember, timing does not stop for student-initiated breaks. It only stops if an event affects all students or if a student requires medical attention. Finally, and you may think unfortunately, TEA will continue to collect time-to-test data for students in grades 3 through 8. This will only affect students who take longer than 2 or 3 hours to test, depending on the grade level. Details on these procedures will be addressed in STAR 3 through 8 procedures training in February 2019. As for TEA's rules concerning the confidentiality of test content, it is imperative for campus staff to understand that test content is intended for students' eyes only, and answers are to be completed by students only. Furthermore, students are required to avoid discussing test content or taking notes over test content. And certainly no teacher should ever look inside a test book or even ask students about any of the content on the STAR test. In some specific situations, TEA allows photocopying or viewing of test content by staff, but anyone authorized to do so is forbidden from sharing or revealing content. Different STAR formats also create concerns that impact test security. For paper testing, campuses must account for every student, accurately code answer documents, destroy certain papers, and ensure that it accounts for and returns every test book that was delivered. For online testing, campuses must ensure that the most current ETS secure browser is installed and used on every computer on which a student tests. They must also manage student test tickets with access codes to test content, address technical issues, and also destroy certain papers. Also, just a reminder that TEA requires seating charts for all rooms in which testing occurs, whether paper or online format. This frame shows the items to keep on file after a test administration. TEA has not changed any requirements here. The list remains the same, and the time frame remains 5 years. As in years past, MISD assessment will provide a form by which each campus must document its test security procedures. Our office will ask for only one test security documentation form for the 2018-19 school year, unless any procedures change from a primary administration to a retest administration. Ideally, none of us will have to worry about this frame because everyone will follow procedures properly and no testing incidents will occur. Still, we need to understand what to do if a possible testing irregularity occurs. First, remember that serious irregularities involve an intentional breach of test security principles. Simply put, these should never occur. But it is possible that an occasional, soon-to-be former staff member might choose poorly. Obviously, campus-level training should encourage staff to choose wisely and address the basic consequences of a poor choice, just as the General Oath and Test Administrator Manuals do. Most irregularities are procedural in nature, involving an unintentional mistake in one of the areas listed. These should also not occur, but people sometimes make mistakes. The best method for preventing those mistakes is, of course, proper training. So our expectation is therefore that each campus provides thorough training and support to staff so that everyone knows what they must, should, can, and cannot do. If an incident does occur, it needs to be addressed as soon as possible, even if it may turn out to be minor or nothing at all. Your first step is always to contact our office as soon as you know there's a problem. We will then proceed as necessary. If a campus incident is indeed a testing irregularity and should be reported to TEA, we will file the report after gathering all appropriate information, and our expectation, like TEA's, is that the campus takes steps to resolve it in the present and prevent it in the future. TEA takes test security seriously, so they include a wealth of resources at the URL indicated at the top of this frame to help districts and campuses to that end. TEA is currently revising the Test Security Supplement, and they also refer administrators to the Security section of the DCCR, which presents additional guidance and recommendations to assist in smooth, error-free test administration. MISD Assessment's resources on Google Drive also contain the Test Security Supplement and other items for your benefit. Remember, every testing season, MISD Assessment aims to provide guidance and support to you, so feel free to contact us if you have questions. We also encourage you to make use of our informational resources on the web, as well as our YouTube channel, and you can follow us on Twitter at MISD Assessment. We do our best to provide the most up-to-date information available regarding STAR testing. Thanks for watching.